Hey there, Chris here from IELTS Advantage. What if I told you that just by doing something you actually enjoy, you could improve your IELTS scores? Everyone watching probably has one of these. You've probably watched an English-speaking TV show or a movie on this. This is the new TV. This is where most people are consuming content these days. So you're spending a lot of time watching these TV shows in your free time anyway, so why not maximize that time and improve your IELTS scores at the same time? I've worked with thousands of students, and one of their secret weapons to getting a band 7, 8 or even 9 is using TV shows and movies to help them improve their scores. So let me show you why this is important. Well, number one, TV shows, movies, they're enjoyable. You enjoy watching them. And if you want to improve any skill, you need to be doing that consistently over a long period of time. And if you do not do it consistently, if you don't do it over a long period of time, you're not going to see any progress. Let's face it, looking at YouTube channels and YouTube videos and books and practice tests about IELTS is not the most exciting thing in the world. One of the reasons why people don't do very well is they're not that enthused about looking at that stuff. So why not take something that you are enthusiastic about, that you do enjoy, and use that time to help you improve your scores? You'll also be exposed to real English. If you listen to how teachers speak to you, how a recording in a textbook is, they don't really use real English. One of the complaints that a lot of students have is when they move to a new country, they've no idea what anyone is actually saying. And I always explain, well, that's how real people talk. People don't talk like that like they do in a textbook or how your English teacher speaks to you. So depending on what TV show it is, you're going to be exposed to a wider range of vocabulary and grammar and phrases and how people actually talk to each other, which will really help improve your speaking, your writing, your listening and your reading. But the number one thing that you must do, I'm not saying that if you just watch 100 hours of Game of Thrones, that you are automatically going to get a band 9. It's not that. It doesn't work like that. You need to be actively listening and doing things as you watch the TV show or as you watch the movie. And that's what the rest of this lesson is going to be about. Showing you how to actively listen and actively improve your scores as you watch these shows. Okay, so the three main areas. One is pronunciation, one is vocabulary, and one is listening. We're going to look at in detail how you can use TV shows to improve these three areas. But there are a lot of other areas that it can improve as well. You're being exposed to a lot of different grammar. You are being exposed to a lot of different ideas and examples. One of the main complaints from students is, I know nothing about this topic in the writing test, or that question that they asked me in the speaking test, I knew nothing about that. If you are exposing yourself to English and surrounding yourself with English, you will not have that problem as much in the speaking and the writing test. So we're going to focus on these three areas, but there's so many other areas, including writing, including speaking, that will improve if you are surrounding yourself with English every single day. So let's look at pronunciation. So I've just taken 3 pronunciation features that you could improve, that you could focus on when you were listening to a TV show. So what you're doing when you're listening to a TV show and you want to improve your pronunciation, you're listening out for a particular thing that you want to improve. So let's say you want to improve your connected speech. And you hear someone saying, "How's it going? How's it going?" And it might sound a little bit strange, but if you pause the video, rewind it and break it down, you'll see that the person is not saying, "How is it going?" This changes to a Z sound. This connects up and this connects up. How's it? How's it? How's it going? How's it going? So this allows you to sound more like a native English speaker. It's going to help you when you move to that country that you want to move to, and it is also going to help you with your pronunciation and with your speaking score. It is also going to help you with your listening because you'll be able to understand what people are saying. One of the main reasons why people don't do so well in the listening test is they don't understand connected speech. So you would pause the video, rewind it, listen, try and break everything down, write it out, literally be sitting there with a pen and a piece of paper and be writing this out and then practice it after. Or you might be unfamiliar with weak sounds. You might hear someone say this. They're in a movie or a TV show. Let's say there's a girl and a guy, and the guy is asking the girl to go to the cinema with him. He's not going to say, "Do you want to go to the cinema?" I don't think he would get a date if he asked that way. He'd say, "Do you want to go to the cinema? Do you want to go to the cinema?" So what's happening here? Well, there's a weak sound here. It changes from oo to d, you want to go. Do you want to go to the cinema? Do you want to go to the cinema? And there's connected speech in there. So you would highlight the weak sounds. This to change to t, you change to y, and d, do change to d. So you would underline these weak vowel sounds, and you will find these, sorry for the ambulance outside, and you'll find these all the time when you're listening to movies, and this is going to help you again sound more like a native English speaker, and it's going to help your listening as well. Or intonation. Intonation can be very, very tricky, because intonation, as your voice naturally changes in pitch, goes up and it goes down, or it stays flat, it changes the messaging, it changes the meaning of words. So for example, if you're watching a scene and let's say a boyfriend and a girlfriend again, and the boyfriend asks the girlfriend, "How are you doing?" And she says, "Fine, fine." That means something very, very different from what it actually means. That means she's not fine. He's in trouble. He's done something wrong. Or if he said, like, "Please tell me what's actually wrong." She said, "I'm fine. I'm fine." That means I am actually fine. So the changing in the pitch, the changing in the intonation changes the actual meaning. So you would listen out for changes in intonation and think about how it actually changes the meaning from listening to the context of the paragraph of the scene, looking at the scene, figuring out how that changes the meaning, and then you could practice that intonation yourself. And I would write out a sentence, and you could just add arrows up and down to indicate how the intonation changes, and then practice that yourself. So you can see, you could watch just 5 minutes of a TV show and dramatically improve your pronunciation. But the key is you need to actually be doing something. You need to have a pad and a pencil or a pen and be sitting writing these things down, marking the connected speech, underlining the weak sounds, marking the intonation, thinking about it deeply about what you're doing. And it might take you 30 minutes just to get through 5 minutes of a scene, but you're dramatically improving your pronunciation. And the great thing about this is you can do this at home by yourself. You don't need a teacher or a partner to do this with you, and you're enjoying the movie or the TV show at the same time. It can really help with your vocabulary. So as you're listening to the TV show or the movie, listen out for new words or phrases. So anything you're not 100% sure about, a new word, a new phrase, pause the video, rewind, and guess what that word means from context. What do you think it means based on what's happening around you? Because you're going to have to do this anyway, both when you move to a new country and in the IELTS test. There will be a lot of words you just do not understand, and you need to get used to guessing from context. That's a really great skill to develop, not only for the test, but when you move to an English-speaking country. And then let's say you hear a new idiom or a new phrasal verb or whatever it is, note it down in a notebook, have a notebook with you, and then write down antonyms and synonyms and collocations and pronunciation so that you will remember that word, and then you can review all of those new words and you're going to improve your pronunciation. So imagine how many TV shows you've watched in the last year, 100, 200, 300, maybe even more. Imagine you took 10 new words or 10 new phrases from every TV show that you'd watched. How bigger would your vocabulary be? How better would you be at speaking and writing? You should really start doing that from now on, and then in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, a year's time, you're going to have a massive vocabulary and a massive improvement in your vocabulary that will help not only your speaking and writing, but also your reading and listening. Finally, obviously it is going to improve your listening, but again, you must be actively focusing on something. Don't think that just watching TV shows passively, not really doing anything, not really thinking about what's going on, half the time you're looking at your phone or whatever. Focus on one thing at a time and actively do something to help. So let's say you struggle with accents. You're going to get a range of different accents. You could watch TV shows from particular areas of the world where you're unfamiliar with the accent. So we have the English accent, Scottish, Irish, Welsh, Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, American, South African, the whole English speaking world. It changes, the accent changes as you go through each country. In fact, where I'm from, there are hundreds of different accents within Ireland. So get used to coping with different accents and getting used to them. Connected speech, we've already talked about that. Intonation, think about what the intonation does, how it changes, and most importantly, how it changes the meaning and the context. Signposting language, how do people, when they're talking, sign to you that they're moving on to a different topic or moving on to a different area? You could be thinking about that. And also prolonged listening. One of the key things that I find with a lot of students is they're just not used to listening continuously and focusing on listening in English for a long period of time. Remember, in the test, you are going to have to be totally focused on what you're doing for a very long period of time. That's one skill that you need to practice. So again, it's not about, passively watching and thinking about your phone and something else and then going and making yourself a cup of tea or coffee halfway through. Practice listening to things for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, and being totally focused on what you're doing. And that's going to dramatically improve your focus and your listening. And then in test day, it'll be no problem at all. So that's how you can improve your IELTS scores, just by watching TV shows and movies. And if you need any other help, if you have any questions about IELTS or you need our help or anything at all, our email is chris@ieltsadvantage.com, or if you go to our main website, ieltsadvantage.com, just type it into Google and you'll be able to find all the information you need there. Thanks very much, guys. See you again soon. Bye-bye.